All right, everyone, we are live. So welcome everyone in live reality game universe, either watching streaming on YouTube or Facebook or listening to the podcast afterwards. That was my phone going off saying we are live. We are back with Survivor Boston season 4. This is kind of like the special recap episode before the finale. So we are joined here. Let's just go in order. Nathan, welcome back.
Hello, it's so good to be here after this whole season to figure out, what the heck we just watched for the last couple months and how awesome was it?
It was amazing. Like, I can't say enough about it, Nathan. Like, it's just been phenomenal. We're also joined by Austin. Austin, a participant in Survivor Michigan. Austin, welcome back.
Hello. Thank you for having me again. Just like same stuff Nathan said. Like, this has just been such an incredible season. Everyone in Survivor Boston, y'all have been killing it. And it's been such a privilege to give back to the LRG world and get to just connect with a bunch of awesome people who love it as much as I do. So yeah.
Now, speaking of your time on Survivor Michigan just released an intro. I know we're wrapping up on Boston, but Michigan's about to start too. Austin, do you know what the dates when that launches?
I don't remember exactly when.
That's okay. Everyone
has Facebook. Yep. What I will say is y'all check this season out. It's really cool. Some really fun twists, awesome challenges. And I hope you all love it as much as I do. So stay tuned for that. Survivor Michigan Wolverine Wars.
Fantastic. And of course, our two people that we couldn't be here without, we have Charlie and Jacob, the hosts and producers and do everything for Survivor Boston. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
Who's going to talk first?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for having us, guys. Yeah, super excited to be back. It's been like really enjoyable watching you guys talk about Survivor Boston throughout the season. So yeah, it's great to be back.
Yeah, for sure. Retweet what Charlie said. Like, it's been so great to have multiple opinions of people who weren't there, because our whole bubble of like Emerson people have been spoiled since the game started. So it's great to see outside perspectives, and it makes it feel a lot more real for us and for the players. So thank you for everything you guys do. It makes it like such an experience.
And our new guest here tonight, talking about Survivor Boston, is Kirk. Kirk, welcome.
Hey guys, I'm super stoked to be here. I've watched every episode in different states of inebriation, so this is a perfect evening for me. And I have lots of theories. I've been wanting to talk about this. I'm a drama teacher. I went to school for theater. I'm still wondering, how the hell do you do a play with somebody you voted out? Like, I'm more interested in this story. Sounds riveting to me, but I can't wait to get into it and talk about who I think is going to be the winner of Survivor Boston. Also, by the way, I am in Survivor British Columbia Season 5, and the finale of that is this Saturday. Shout out to Dustyn, Jaira Batulin, everybody else on that cast and crew. Make sure you check that out. I actually made it to the final 6. I'm in the finale, so check it out.
And then also, Kirk will be covering a new season of Surviving Maine starting tomorrow.
It's gonna be jam-packed. We're gonna watch Surviving Maine. We're gonna have a podcast directly afterwards. It's gonna be super fun. Joining us is Liza, the host. We're gonna have Taylor, who is the editor and composer, and also joining us is Jordan Kalish from Rob Has a Podcast. So it's gonna be a blast.
Wow,
that's so hype.
So much Survivor.
I
know.
All right.
Yeah, take it away.
But yeah, we are here for Survivor Boston. So everyone, this is a huge spoiler alert. Like, we will be covering episode 1 to episode 12, and probably even going a little further, making some fan predictions about how this is going to go. So let's just kick it off. Survivor typically does a typical torch walk. So let's just try to recap a few of our pre-merge contestants and talk a little bit about them and their experience, and maybe some behind the scenes of what Jacob and Charlie thought about when the show was going on. So First up, we have Madison. Now, I'll start with this one. Like, Madison was my winner pick. Like, she played a phenomenal game at first. She made the bold moves. Didn't work out. Those moves were a little bit too brave, but super entertaining to watch and such a good spirit. She was great in person. And thanks again, Madison, for joining us for I know it's kind of rough to be the first boot, but I'm glad you had a good spirit about it. Austin, I see you're nodding your head there.
Yeah, like Madison reminded me a lot of Sierra in Game Changers. Just like putting that name out early can be a big backfire-prone move, and we saw that happen. But like you said, it was good to see her in good spirits about it, and being the first boot is so hard. So, you give it everything you have right from the get-go, and sometimes it just doesn't work out, the cards aren't in your favor, so it can be tough.
Nathan, I think you were kind of expecting Madison to be a first boot.
Yeah. Yeah, I called it. I called it, and it came true. And had so much fun talking with Madison, but it was really apparent from even preseason that there could not be both a Maddie and a Madison existing for very long. And I still stand by this. It's a subconscious thing. You don't want to play with someone who shares the name with you.
I played all the season with 3 Emilys, Nathan.
Maddie and Madison
and only one Emily will make it to the end.
Charlie, do you find that difficult to bond with another like Charles or something? Are you immediately like enemies, like only one person?
Like in real life? I haven't known a lot of like Charlie or Charleses, but
Charles.
I would imagine it would be fine. I think I knew a Charlie back in middle school. We were cool. We were pals.
Okay.
I wouldn't have voted him out if we were in Survivor.
Oh, okay. Well, you never know with a twist. So,
my first input about this season, I'm talking about.
Charlie, did you have any special predictions initially casting Madison in the cast?
Yeah,
remember
she was my winner pick as well. I didn't have the same feelings that you had, Nathan, preseason. I thought she was going to do really well. I think she had a lot of potential. And I think that's true. I think she did have a mindset that was like very game oriented. She wanted to do a lot with the game. She just made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, I don't want to say that my prediction of her going out early in this game was indicative of what her potential is as a player, because I actually think she has a lot of potential for this game. I just think in this particular cast, she was going to struggle. And particularly, I mean, there's a certain thing that we don't talk about a ton on this show, but this is college Survivor, and age plays into this. I mean, these are people with relatively little life experience, and I don't want to say they don't have self-awareness, because some of them do have self-awareness, but you grow in your self-awareness over time, and I don't know that she expected how other people were going to perceive her, particularly the other woman in the game.
Kirk's standing next to me, sitting next to me, but I hear him going, Can you explain your
Well, you sold me on that argument. That completely makes sense. Watching her coming into the game, I thought she was going to do well, so I didn't see that perspective, but saying that, I can kind of understand that perspective. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and like having played College Survivor, the whole thing about self-awareness, like I thought I was going to go in and be perceived a certain way, and then, it's how you deal with being perceived differently than you think you're going to be perceived. And so, yeah, that's tough. And I agree with you about, having Madison as my first boot pick didn't mean I didn't want her to do well or didn't think that she could do well. But like you said, I was like, with this cast, she just seemed like something was going to go wrong. I was not thinking it was going to be her making a bold move that early that was going to cause that. But in a way, I'm glad that was the reason, because it really cemented her as just this really iconic part of that episode. And it really is something that stuck with me as I rewatched the season.
Absolutely. And something that has stuck with this season, it's come up before, it's come up just in a recent episode on the whiteboard. Brady was robbed.
Brady was robbed.
Our second boot. Jacob, you had a big reaction to Brady.
Because, like,
I didn't think Brady, so.
I mean, yeah, I think from a show perspective, he was everything we ever could have asked for. You know, like, he's a big personality. He's willing to go all out for the show, and that's what we look for every time we cast anyone. But, like, Brady has a special place in, like, at least my heart, because before he even got to Emerson, 'cause he plays as a freshman, he reached out over the summer to the Survivor Boston Facebook page asking if we were casting. So, like, he was wanting to play this game from before he even got to, like, school in general, which, of course, like, warmed my heart when I got that message. So it does make sense that he goes out early, because he was for months thinking about playing. And, you know, when you're consistently thinking about it, of course, you're going to go way too messy, way too quickly, which is what he did, unfortunately. But every second he was on the screen was pure gold for me, at least. So I truly love him as a character. He's phenomenal.
Absolutely. We definitely bonded over second boot, having played second boot in another live game. We connected on that level. It's tough, but you just got to keep going, push forward, and join us on podcasting. Okay, Brady? That's okay. Second boot podcast. We got this. So,
You know, Dustyn, when you mentioned who would be a great guest at podcasting, Brady was one of the first people that came to mind, actually, because I just thought his personality was just so, it really shone in the season.
and definitely his politic background. He's a great public speaker and
That's
everything.
right.
So, Brady, I know you stopped watching these, but it's okay.
Brady was my favorite, I gotta say. I mean, he just cast this guy in every season, and I don't care if he goes out first. It will make the first episode amazing, because he's so messy, so into the game, has no idea what is actually coming out of his mouth, because he has no filter from his brain to his tongue, and it's so much fun. He was so much fun, and he really set this season off with a really great pace. Even he didn't go to Tribal his first episode, but he was a huge part of the premiere, and I think he set up this season to be what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. He was running since a month before the game even started. It sounds like. Shout outs to some viewers watching at home. We have a fellow Charlie.
Hey, Rachel.
Hey, Rachel.
That's my sister.
Oh, hey, sister. And then Brian is back with us again, saying it's fun to hear this in real life and on screen. So, Brian, thanks again for tuning in. And thanks for everyone watching at home, too. Make sure you leave live comments. We'll get to those, especially on this recap. We want to hear your impressions of the season so far, maybe some predictions at the end. So we really want to hear from you. So,
oh my gosh, tell us what you think of the players as we go through.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. In fact, I want to get into Brady just a little bit, and mine's going to get into the edit, because I thought in my first episode watch and my rewatch, I thought Brady was going to go really far, kind of with what you guys were talking about. He seems such a focus point, and I felt like he had even though he doesn't have that filter, like Nathan says, I thought he was going to be smart enough to kind of go UTR for a few episodes and then go really far, like UTR, then go far. But that's not what played out. But his edit was so strong, and I want to talk about that later on, because I think there still might be clues in episode 1. I'm not sure. I think he might have been a red herring on who goes deep in this game. But we'll talk more about that as we get further into the cast assessment or recap.
This is like the opposite of a cast assessment.
Yeah.
Just to show how wrong we were.
I'm really glad that people perceived Brady really well. Like, his reception was awesome. Like, I would talk to people who hadn't seen or didn't know what had happened, and they loved Brady. And I didn't know, after coming off of filming the show, I didn't know how people would receive Brady, just because he is so intense. So I imagine that he could be a little bit polarizing, but I'm really happy that people really liked watching him play. He's super entertaining. He was super entertaining to watch live too while we were hosting.
I remember even just in our interviews with contestants, they were like, "Oh, my family really loves Brady. Brady is our favorite. We're rooting for Brady." It was.
That's
amazing.
what my family said.
Yeah.
Something I really loved about that was like the duality we got, and unfortunately it was short lived, but with Hallie, as like Brady was so on the ball with the strategizing and the socializing, and Hallie wasn't as much. And so it's cool to see that playing together when you have such, a difference in play style, but with two very close allies. And yeah, just all of that Brady 2-episode arc was so fun to watch. And I think it's rare that you see a character as, dare I say, almost complete in just 2 episodes. That just is emblematic of, for me, why I love Survivor. Someone who's going to put every single iota of energy they have into it, usually to their detriment, but that's also compelling TV.
Yeah, and I think you guys were right over. Sorry to say one last thing about Brady. I just I think you guys are right when you say that his edit does make him seem throughout episode 1 that he's going to go far, because I think that edit a lot of the time reflects how Charlie and I are currently seeing the game as producers. So we thought fully Brady, from episode 1, does set himself up well. He has communication with everyone on his tribe, which not every player in Survivor Boston does all the time. On top of that, he's reaching out to literally everybody. So, and he goes for those temple of risks. He's able to get that idol. He's setting himself up well, but then, immediately throws out Austin's name. The second Austin is currently in urgent care, bleeding from his mouth. Could have just taken a step back, or at least said, Jackie's name, the counterpart to Austin that round, and maybe he's still around. So it's all about when you say the name and whose name you're saying. But he could have gone far. He really could have.
Before we recap that challenge, because I want to talk about that, it was one of the most exciting challenges. Viewers at home, Phoebe, of course, rooting for Brady as well on her winner pick. So yay, Phoebe. Rachel also wants to recap, saying, yes, she does love Brady. Brady, we love you to hear this. So Amara also, we love Brady. Jacob K. Brady was a very interesting player. Enjoyed him from the start of the season. Playing too hard overall. Jacob is our resident expert on Survivor Boston. So
we see those comments.
Jacob K. also loved Madison too. So Jacob, thank you again. Sad to see her go. I totally agree. Before we get to the next contestant, I do want to talk about that challenge real quick. The touch football kind of challenge. That's super epic, super fun to watch. Not maybe in Austin's perspective, but let's see here. Carly's tuning in, and Rachel again. He did pull a Madison, so Carly, we'll get to you eventually. So. Let's see. On our little torch walk here, our next contestant, we have Jess. I think Jess was super inspiring too when Jess talked to us about the elimination and how Jess has grown, and Jess shared their story with us, and it was really amazing and really eye-opening, I guess you could say, especially for our audience tuning in. So. Any comments on Jess? I remember that last challenge when Jess tackled Max and was like, "Oh, you got Austin, I'm going to get you now." So I learned how to make a GIF because of Jess. So
there you go. I absolutely love not only just watching Jess play, but talking to them on the podcast. That was such a great first experience for me on the podcast. And like you said, just such an inspiring story. And fun gameplay as well. Was just always being sociable and strategizing and working to make those connections. And I think, man, I will get to it in a couple of booths, but Anthony just pulling the trigger like that was crazy. And I wanted Jess to go far. I don't think I put them very high on my boot list because I was worried something like this was going to happen. But man, would it have been fun to watch Jess just plow through the game.
Jess was definitely a dominant player for sure.
Yeah, I was just rewatching their tribal council that they went home today, and Jess is so articulate. They speak so well. And if I'm was in the game, I would want to align with Jess. I would want to work with Jess. It's a little was baffling for me to see why did Anthony really want to get rid of them? It's a little bit baffling still. And also when I look at the reverse boot list, what if the season had gone in reverse and we had Madison, Brady, and Jess as our final 3, or even the pre-merge all in the final 6, it would have been a crazy awesome season. But we had all of these amazing characters go early. And I think that's just a testament to the casting, because we have great characters still left in the game now, but the reverse boot list would have been exciting.
Another universe.
Yeah.
Someone make alternate universes real, please, so we can see these crazy alternate seasons.
I was going to say...
Yeah.
Oh,
go, Charles,
I was going to say Jess was super compelling. I think they were an awesome narrator and a really good storyteller. And I agree with you, Nathan. When Jacob and I are editing, we were like, why did everyone get rid of Jess? That didn't make any sense. It was a bad move on a lot of people's parts. Jess was an awesome player and also a good threat to have in front of you, a good shield to have in front of you. And it didn't make sense for, I think, a lot of people on the tribe to get rid of them at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed, because at the end of the game, isn't Jess going to have the story that's going to win over the jury? So I think potentially taking Jess further might have been an asset to a few other players in the game.
Yeah,
a lot of comments for Jess too in the comments, so thanks, viewers. So
yeah, Jess also, I mean, if you think about it, I think Jess was one of the few players this season who could really reach across the aisle and build relationships with people from opposite alliances. And I think that's someone who's really valuable to have on your side, because they were willing to work with pretty much anyone on their tribe, which not everyone was willing to do. And to have Jess on your side, especially going into the merge, that would have been so valuable for anybody in this game, because that's we've seen that be the cause of so many people's downfall this season, is that they weren't quite willing to make the connections they needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about Anthony later. This is basically one of the main reasons why he doesn't make it far in the game. The pre-merge itself, the whole thing you're supposed to be doing is setting yourself up for a merge, so you have numbers going through that point of the game. And it's like you kind of take a machete and cut off your left arm and say, that's Austin's fault. It's crazy. It made absolutely no sense from our standpoint. I scrolled back through our producer chat earlier today to read through all of our thoughts during the season, and we were confused then. I remember Anthony leaving a confessional and me texting the producers. I'm like, so Jess is going, and I don't know why. But
those are the crazy moments as a producer. You're like, what is happening?
Well, sometimes when you're seeing too much as a partnership, you do want to get rid of your other partner, just to be like, hey, I'm now a lone goat or whatever. I'm a free agent per se. That's a better term, I guess. But
right. But then round 3, if you keep Justin and knock out Austin that round, then going into a swap, you have more numbers on your side, because he ends up swapping onto a tribe with Austin.
Yep.
And that ruins any chance of Katai sticking together in a swap.
Or even, I think Jess had the right idea. They were trying to get Hallie out. And I think, love Hallie. Love that she stuck around.
We love Hallie.
I think that would have been a great move, because you keep the Katai unity that both, I think, Jess and Austin were talking about at that time.
Yeah, and I was rewatching that episode this morning too, and to see Jess say, I mean, Hallie's probably not going to trust us after we just blindsided Brady. And I mean, Hallie might trust us, but I mean, come on. So to me, it made perfect sense. That's when you would take out Hallie, use Austin as a shield a little more, and keep the core of then Jess, Anthony, Big H stronger going into the swap, and then bringing in like Anissa. And so it could have been a really good thing to see that kind of Katai core be a little stronger. But I mean, what we got was still so entertaining that it's almost worth it.
Yeah, like what we got is great, and I prefer that players are actually making moves instead of sitting back and doing absolutely nothing.
Totally.
Wrong moves are better than no moves.
Yeah,
I feel like everyone watched like the finale of Survivor, and they're like, "Oh, this is how we play Survivor." No, this is like round 1.
Yeah.
Then you're thinking like round 18 or whatnot. So
yeah, and sometimes
if everyone played
seasons,
great, the season would be boring.
Yeah, you get seasons that are they're slow burn. This was just consistently rip-roaring from the get-go, and that is a commendament on the players. Like when you have those players who are going to just hit the ground running and like more like hit the ground sprinting, that's when like that's when you have to pick up your own pace of gameplay. Because like I don't know, like playing an LRG, when I've played, I usually started slower, and that bit me in the butt. So I think seeing people just hit the ground running is really a great thing to watch, and I think it's a benefit if you're playing as well.
And another great thing to watch are the viewer comments coming in. Less about the contestants, actually, more focused about the people in front of them talking right now. Austin says, "Our king." Austin. The other Austin. Austin, don't get jealous, okay? Don't vote him out or anything.
You know what? There's room for multiple Austins to coincide.
Erica's tuning in just for Charlie and Jacob. So thank you, Erica. Hopefully we're giving you enough Charlie and Jacob for now. Let's see here. And then let's see. That's all right. Nathan, I'll let you do the next introduction of this next contestant.
Yeah, this was my winner pick, Max. And look how well he did. Oh, not well at all. Okay, so shall we recount a few of our favorite Max moments? One was the 20 minutes of moments as he tried to and failed to solve a simple word jumble.
Cheers to that.
The other was
Charlie.
No, Jacob was. I think Jacob was filming that.
I was the only one there. It was.
What is that like?
Hints along the way.
Did you have a
like,
mercy time?
I did want
Wasn't
30
mercy
minutes.
time.
I was going to cut him out, but like it was. I remember because I would text the producers everyone's times the second they finished, and like Phoebe was the only one responding to me at the time, and Phoebe's like, "Is he still there? Did you forget to text us?" I'm like, "No, he's just still going." I'm just hanging in the corner.
He was messy, but he was fun. Definitely not the player I thought he was before the season. But, by the first episode, when I realized he wasn't going to win, I'm like, well, I wanted to stick around for as long as possible because this is a mess. In all of the ways. Just strategy, he's everything. It's just like he ate too many pot brownies over the course of the season. And he never quite came down from it.
It's not an incorrect assumption.
I mean, I think we have to start with, I'm just going to keep my allies on my toes and vote for Carly.
Absolutely. Jacob says the same thing too on YouTube. He's like, randomly going to test my allies.
He's so Max. And it's cemented, again, just like iconic. And... it was so fun to get to talk to him and pick his brain a little bit, and it's just no, don't to pull a bit of out of the Nathan playbook. Why, man? Dude, don't vote for your allies unless you're actually planning to vote them out. And then, I mean, it's funny, but. I don't know if it had the intended effect. I mean, they still were working together, which was incredible. That a couple episodes later, Carly's like, I'm not going to vote Max out, even though he's probably going out. So it's kind of nuts.
I think Carly got her revenge. She got further. So
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
I thought he was
why did they think that he was more of a threat?
Well, I mean, when he was like talking to Zach, that was another huge moment that I loved. First Zach just like casually mentions Finn, and Zach's like Finn, and like just pounces on that. Hilarious. And the thing is, Max was right and pinpointed some things like Zach and Maddie in some regards, and like that could have been a big threat. Like as soon as you're on to someone and you, whether intentionally or unintentionally, let them know, hey, I'm kind of onto you, let's work together so that we don't have to come after each other, that's either going to work in your favor or you're getting sent out the door. And unfortunately for Max, he got the boot.
Now, it seemed like Jacob and Charlie, you recall that experience when they were talking about Finn. Was there anything you wanted to add to that by chance? No? Oh.
It was just really funny. Like seeing that, because Max was like, "Oh, I heard my name thrown out," and Zach goes, "Oh, from Finn." Oh yeah, from Finn. And Max is like, "Finn told you that?" And Zach like reels. Zach's like, "Did I just screw up completely?" Yeah. It's like, oh no, like that's what I just assumed. Really funny at it.
Another person that heard their name, Phoebe's tuning back in. Yeah, we did mention Phoebe. Yeah. One of the other amazing producers of the show. Phoebe put in a lot of work on set. She was there for like the actual filming of it. Is that correct? And a lot of the setup?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. She would book all of our studios every single week, and we're always thankful for that.
Good job, Phoebe.
Yeah.
And we got to talk to Phoebe. She was a great guest. Let's see. Next up, Austin, do you want to do this next introduction here?
Yes, sure. Give me 2 seconds. Yeah. So, we have, fittingly, Austin, our robbed king of getting stitches, and the invisible non-alliance with Swetha. Like, man, what a way to have your game defined by a relationship, like a strategic relationship that doesn't exist. Like, the fear of those two working together sparked only by them walking into, like, day one together is crazy. And then to find out, hey, we never actually talked strategy at all. It's hilarious how much perception does, in many cases, become reality. And so it was unfortunate that we saw this happen to Austin, and I had him going far, mostly because I wanted to see a fellow Austin do well. I'm not going to lie. But, I think there were a lot of things working for him, and they were the same things that were working against him. I mean, being a senior and knowing a lot of people, and being an RA and being out there and knowing how to talk to people are things people will pick up on really quickly. And I think people did and saw him as a threat right away, and is really hard to avoid that. So yeah. I think, and then after you get like annihilated in the capture the flag and have to get stitches, I mean, you have your story right there, right? You bled for this game. So it's a lot to deal with. And so I think, to his credit, he did a lot really well strategically. He was talking to the people he needed to. I just think that, unfortunately, he wasn't able, and I don't know if he really could have mitigated his threat level at that point with just the configuration of the tribes he was on.
Yeah, and I think that we're focused so much on the Anissa and Big H secret alliance. There was a secret alliance between Austin and Swetha they didn't even know about. That's how secretive it was.
Right. The secret alliance everybody thought existed versus the secret alliance that actually did exist but nobody knew about.
And it sucks that it happened to Austin out of everyone. Sorry, Nathan. But like I personally consider Austin to be like the strongest player out of everyone who was knocked out pre-merge. Like, he has the best potential out of all of them. Like, Austin's able to read situations really well. Austin on the bottom of original Katai, like he did a great job dodging bullets, basically. Like, Brady and Jess both go out before him. Like, in all intents and purposes, he should have been like out with, like, him and Jackie should have gotten knocked out on that original tribe. So it's genuinely impressive and speaks to his social and strategic game. And I think he just had terrible luck this season. Absolutely horrific luck.
Do you mean to say the term knocked out so much? I mean, he did get hit in the face. I thought
It just
Subconsciously.
And honestly, I feel like him getting injured at the challenge helped him that round to not a little bit to not get voted off. I think he still would have been able. I know he's watching. I think he still would have been able to avoid getting voted off that round. But I think that helped him a little bit gain some sympathy and kind of turn things around on Brady.
We have this random viewer watching at home. I thought Austin was a great player. I liked him a lot. I think
sounds like a fan account. Well, Jacob, I'm going to disagree with you. And even though Austin's watching, I'm going to take him to task a little bit.
Do it.
Okay, because here's the thing. Austin came into the game, I think, with all of the opportunities available to him, and he squandered them a little bit. It was a little bit of a missed opportunity where he didn't, and I think part of it was he didn't know how people were perceiving him. I don't think he really knew how much of a threat people saw him as. Because if he did, the right move at that point is to own your threat level and become a bigger threat, and to try to craft your own alliance. And we never saw him crafting an alliance. That's what I was looking for the whole time, and we never saw him get to do that. Because I think if he did, he could have actually secured some votes, because people would have been maybe intimidated by him in the game, and they would have listened to him out of that. So I enjoyed watching Austin. I think he has a lot of upside in this game. Would love to see him play again. But I was a little bit disappointed. Sorry, Austin.
Well, that just means, Austin, you just got to come back again. So I'm sorry. There's got to be another live game for you elsewhere, okay?
Prove him wrong, Austin. Prove him wrong.
I do have a question. For our Austin.
Yes.
Austin, would you vote out this Austin if you were in a game with him?
Okay, so my sort of thing is, and this is kind of a cop-out, but it depends on the circumstances, right? Like, I've going back and thinking on, things I could have done better. I think one of the things was, this minute you get stuck in your ways, is the minute that you close off opportunity, the minute that you close off the potential move that will save your butt. And so something that I could have done better was be more open to, hey, maybe the people I'm working with are the right people that I need to be working with, or hey, maybe the people I'm working with are potentially going to be a detriment to myself, and maybe I'm a detriment to them. So it really would depend on what the relationship is between us and between everybody else. I think in the moment, if I was on this season, I think the Brady vote made sense. The Just vote made less sense. And in that one, I probably would have voted Austin over Just. But then I think it also plays into Just being reluctantly agreeable to voting for Austin when, they were telling Anthony, I don't want to, but I will. And it was like Just was just more loyal to Anthony than to Austin at that point. And so I think it could go either way. I'd say, who knows? I'd prefer not to, though, because, imagine an Austin final, too. Come on.
Oh, that's gorgeous. That's what I was going to say, Austin. I was going to call out you on BS right there just a little bit. That's the safest answer I've ever heard.
I know.
If there is another Kirk out there who plays Survivor, please contact me ASAP. I want to play a game with you as soon as possible because you're going to be my Kirk meat shield. And I'm hoping that if we both become targets, they write Kirk down, and I can still argue somehow that they wrote the wrong Kirk. It's not.
You didn't put a last initial.
No.
Which Kirk are you ready? Yeah, it's like, and I think that's kind of. Again, I played Survivor Michigan. I played with 3 Emilys. Survivor Buffalo, I played with 2 Bryans. So there's a point, especially before you actually know people, where you're confusing people with the same name or similar names, and so I think anytime you can use that to your potential advantage is something you should try to capitalize on.
For sure, but I didn't get to talk about Austin. I thought Austin was amazing too. I really want to watch Austin in a non-college Survivor game and see how he does outside of that context. I think he has the opportunity to build more emotional bonds than he did. I think he was kind of restricted in his role at the university. So I'd like to see him outside of this try again. So go for it, buddy. I'm here for it.
Well, awesome here. And then we have our final contestant before we do get to merge. And then we'll kind of do a quick recap here. We have next up, we have Anthony. I know we talked a little bit about Anthony's gameplay earlier about voting Jess out and how maybe that, okay, it was most likely a really bad decision. But, you know, maybe Anthony just thought they were getting too close to each other and wanted to distance themselves a little bit, maybe distancing themselves a little bit too much by voting Jess out of the game, of course. But, and that's about it for me. I was catching up on the comments, folks. I'll get to the viewers here in just a moment. Anybody for Anthony?
Yeah, I'll go. I really loved watching Anthony. I think you bring someone who is so outwardly cerebral about the game, someone thinking from so many different angles, again, can lead to overplaying, which is a common theme in this pre-merge. But I think what I wasn't expecting was just how big of a social force Anthony was being. Like the hidden connection with Madison, which unfortunately they didn't really get time to develop a whole lot. And again, the trio with Big H and Jess was so cool. And I think that could have been so strong. And it was just really interesting to see all that play out. And I think Anthony could have been a huge danger in the post-merge had he just kept his allies a little closer. And I mean, I guess you can understand at some point, like, yeah, if you are going to keep someone kind of like, we'll get to Zach and Anna down the line, but when you have such a powerful duo that is very loyal to each other, you know, if one of them is immune, who are they going to target? The other person who's not immune. So that's definitely a risk you take if you're, you know, going to be in alliance with someone like Jess, who is perceived as, you know, a very kind of dominant personality in the game.
I guess the question goes to Nathan then. When do you vote your final two out? Like, you've had experience with that, right?
Yeah, you vote them out at the end, not at the beginning.
Yeah.
Although not too late, because you might lose your chance. Yeah, so for me, it would have been Final Four if I made the right move. But yeah, I think for Anthony, his move was to stick with the person who was at the very least, not targeting him. I mean, you have 7 people in your tribe at this point. There's going to be 1 or 2 that are willing to vote you out, and Jess was not one of them. It's as simple as that. You vote out the people who are willing to vote you out.
And getting to the comment that we cannot comment about, I'm super excited to see whatever comes of this. Phoebe, Austin, please let me know. NDA included, so super excited to find out what we can't comment about. So for the after party, I guess. So thank you.
Cool then. And for Anthony, like something that's something that I'm like remembering from casting in general is that like we had a bigger pool for season 4. So everyone that was cast, like you had to have like a producer basically like fight for you to get on this season. And I remember sitting in that room fighting for Anthony to get on this season. And I'm so happy I kept pushing for him because he delivered so much chaos. And Anthony, I know when you watch this, I know I like pick on your like game like so much. But it's out of love because again, like I like long players come in and I prefer they make the wrong moves than sitting and going all the way to the end doing absolutely nothing. So, you know, he might have made a lot of wrong moves, but he was a social force to be reckoned with. Like he was meeting up with as many people as he could. And, you know, he just didn't have, he was getting correct information, but then making it up in his head that everyone was lying to him, you know, like when all of a sudden it was all Jess's fault that Brady left, and then it was all Austin's fault that Jess left, even though Austin found out about that vote 5 minutes before Tribal Council. So it's Anthony, I love you, and I'm so glad you were a part of this season.
Yeah. And you go, Nathan.
Well, about that, making things up in your head, I think Anthony was a really interesting case to watch because, especially about how paranoia can get to you in these games. because it was really clear he was reacting to the stress of the situation rather than what was in front of him, and not making the right decision because of it. But I think that makes it interesting. I mean, these are human beings who are going through this, who are entering this community of distrust, and Anthony let the distrust get to him rather than taking a step back, looking at the bigger picture. But that's a really natural thing to do, because it's not normal for us to be around people who lie to us. It's not normal. And so he did what was the natural reaction. Unfortunately, it was not good for his game.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, a pro about Anthony's game. We mentioned his social game a little bit. I think an example of that is right after Austin got voted off, he reached out to Jackie in order to explain, like, the reasoning behind doing that, saying, I still want to work with you, Jackie. Like, we're still tight, blah, blah, blah. I think there's not a lot of players that can be that forward thinking, I guess, about doing that kind of damage control. So respect to him for that. It's just unfortunate. He had a lot of people that he was talking to. It's just unfortunate that he didn't know what to do with that,
And he was one challenge away from making the merge.
Yeah.
Right.
Also hard, easy to forget, because if he hit the merge, I think he would have been there for a minute.
I just want to mention real quick, because that's one of my favorite moments, like, because I was editing the phase right after that last immunity challenge that the tribes had together, the one where Anthony goes out on. And I remember him saying in his confessional, like, Swetha planned all of this so that we would lose. They put me on the ball toss. That's one of my favorite moments, because Swetha just fully did the puzzle because she thought she could do the puzzle. There's nothing more beyond that. I love it. I love it so much.
All right, that brings us to merge. So everyone watching at home, thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you follow along. We have the finale coming up, but we are doing a recap of season 4, Palamedes of Survivor Boston. Yes, Jacob, I had to take a second. Think. I'm like,
I do too.
Hallie's the one that corrected me. Took me a little bit.
Full disclosure, there's going to be tons of spoilers, so if you have not caught up to this point, put this on pause, go do 2-speed on YouTube, catch up, and join us for the rest of this, or watch on anywhere you find podcasts. So we're going to get right to merge right here. Our first unfortunate, huge blindside. I think this is really where the game kicks off and really sets Boston apart from a lot of things too. So first person up. Poor Maddie. Out of all the people to go at merge, a huge social player, strategic. Maddie did such a great job of positioning herself, and then it was just a pure blindside. I don't know. I'm still shocked from how that vote went down. So
yeah, what crazy! It's the only tie vote and revote we've had so far. And just what more shocking player to have that happen to. Maddie was primed. She was in the driver's seat from the very first vote, saving Anna and getting rid of Madison, and watching her navigate the kind of core Fachia crew, and everything was just absolutely so fun to watch. And so I feel like we were totally robbed of just more incredible Maddie content, what could have been. And I mean, just that crazy vote really, like you said, Dustyn, set, a precedent for kind of the rest of the alliance building that was going to happen later down the line. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah, and even looking at the comments coming in, we have Jacob, just a queen for Maddie there. Rachel said it crushed her. My favorite. Austin was really surprised seeing her face getting blindsided. Was one of his personal top 10 moments of his life. Look at that. I should have made a GIF on that one, Austin. I'm sorry.
Blindside faces. The market for that.
So I have a question. I think Maddie was awesome. But what if, it had the merge gone a little bit differently, and Jackie and Finn stuck with the 5, and Jackie was then added to a number, they would have won out that vote and been able to just steamroll the rest of the season, theoretically. What would happen, and let's just throw Jackie in this mix too, what would happen if the final 6 was that 5-person alliance and Jackie at the final 6? So Finn, Jackie, Maddie, Swetha, Zach, Anna.
I love this scenario because like I've run through this scenario with both Maddie and Swetha on one side and then Anna on another, where Anna, like throughout all the pre-merge, she talks about knowing she's on the bottom. So like Anna was ready to flip, just not willing to at the merge. Which smart. Like for Anna's game, I think sticking with Hallie for that first vote was definitely the right decision. But I think Anna would probably flip a little earlier than 6. But if it got to that 6, I think at that point, I think Jackie and Anna might be a little screwed there at that point, because I think Zach is pretty much from that scenario locked to get to the end, and I think he would choose Swetha and Maddie over Jackie and Anna.
I was gonna say I think it's hard to know where Zach falls because at the beginning of like right before merge, Zach starts to say, "Oh, I've been having a lot more conversations with Anna and Jackie." This could like. Maddie and Swetha are already very likable. They're already big players. This could be Anna and Jackie could be these 2 people that I look at going forward with instead. But it's hard to know because we don't really get too much in that mindset until did I cut out or am I still here? Before Maddie's blindsided.
Yeah, I definitely think Zach kind of is in the middle of everything, but that's a really good thing. Kind of like how Jackie was in the actual timeline, a little more middle leaning. I think Zach would have had options, and he could have very well taken out Maddie and Swetha because they were potentially really big threats, Maddie especially, and Maddie might have wanted to turn on Zach. Who knows? If she turned on Madison that quickly, who knows? And then like we'll get to the Zach and Anna duo again, but like could have been really cool to see. I think it would have been really interesting, just like that's a really interesting final 6 scenario.
Yeah, I think Maddie would have made it. I think, I know. Because Finn's there, I think Finn goes out at 6. And I think Maddie actually makes it to final 2. Probably with Zach. But I think she wins this if she doesn't get voted out there. And that Hallie gets voted out instead.
It's a great final 2.
That is a great final 2.
And then I just recall, Jacob, I think you were reading the votes at the time, or maybe Charlie was. It was shocking, too, because you sent us that photo, and you were like, how is this vote going down? Like, it was such a surprise for you producers as well.
Yeah, because like all of those, Charlie read the votes, but like all of the confessionals, we had just finished confessionals and then went straight from there to tribal. And within like the span of, I forget who our last confessional was, but like that was like a 20-minute range. Like we thought Hallie was like locked to go, like unanimously. And then I think it was probably Finn was the first to vote. And like normally one host is in with the players, making sure that game talk has stopped, and the others with like whoever's voting. And Finn holds up a Maddie, and I'm like, like, oh, and then like I start doing like all the math in my head. I'm like, okay, so like is everyone in on this? And then Jackie comes in because I'm like, all right, Jackie's probably voting Maddie, and holds up Hallie, and I'm like, what the hell is happening here? And then like Anissa, who comes in last, like holds up like Zach, and I'm like, this is I'm losing fucking mind. I'm texting Charlie what's happening, but Charlie wasn't getting his phone because he was talking with everyone in the room, and like my mind is like, it was crazy, man. It was like probably one of the best nights of my life. It was great.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, when I was hosting the discussion part of that tribal, I really went in on Hallie during the questioning because I'm like, I'm thinking, okay, Hallie's about to leave the game per her own wishes. I'm not going to let her just leave without me kind of roasting her a little bit. But then she didn't leave. Like we spent like all these minutes talking about Hallie. The fact that Hallie's about to leave the game, the fact that Hallie's about to leave, and then it just the complete opposite happens. It was crazy. It was crazy.
I loved that it was, it's something like an editor's dream that you have such the perfect, believable, unintentional red herring where I was convinced, okay, Hallie's going to go. And I was prepared for that. And then the Maddie votes come in and I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a great moment of the season. It's probably the best moment of the season so far. And it's just so good.
And props to the editing. That's how it was presented. You had this great thing you did, a tie, and then that one flip vote at the end. It was just shocking to everyone. And then there was the revote. It was all props to whoever edited that episode.
This season is lit up on this episode.
Charlie.
Rachel at home said she screamed. Rachel, I think I did as well. Billy did confirm you did scream, Rachel, and you can probably hear me scream too on that one because it was just unbelievable. We said it in the comments live on YouTube when it came out. This was just the vote that really kicked off the super strong gameplay from this season. Let's see here. Next up on our boot list, an early target at first, survived for quite some time. Nathan's nodding his head. So, all right, Nathan, you can introduce our next contestant here.
Yeah, this was the person I predicted a second boot. It was Finn. Finn was messy, but I expected him to be a lot messier a lot earlier. And I think to his credit, he managed to hold it together and flip some votes and start to gain some power and traction in the game before his flip-flopping caught up with him. So that was exciting to watch. But yeah, it was the fact that everyone turned on him at the merge was, including his own alliance, was a little bit telling.
Yeah, you had him second boot, I had him third boot. And I definitely thought this is going to be someone we were going to love to watch, someone who's going to be really entertaining and bring some chaos, and Finn did not disappoint. I think it was really fun to watch, especially early on, the social dynamics between him, Max, and Zach. And we didn't really see a whole lot with Zach, but the one confessional meetup they did at the party, and that brought me back to my experience strategizing at a party, and it's just fun to see the outside connections playing some sort of a role, and we see that a lot with the Finn and Max storyline, where Madison and Carly are immediately wanting to be wary of Finn, and Max like, no, I know him in real life. He's cool. And so it's such an interesting thing. And so then to see Finn betray Max, which isn't really much, it's only really a betrayal from Max's perspective and not Finn's. And so then that throws another layer on it. And then you get the flip, and then the unanimous vote out against Finn. It's a really great, complex, multifaceted arc, and it was really, really fun to watch.
And then, Rachel also tuned in, and she said she was really interested to see how intimidating he was, and that Madison chose him to be one of the flips on the twist in the beginning. So that was really interesting. So, Rachel, you have some great discussion. Join us anytime on camera that you would like. So, Charlie, your sister's always welcome here. So you're shaking your head, but no.
I'm glad she's watching.
Your thoughts on Finn, Kirk?
We always said Finn was so stoic. He came across as super stoic all the time, and I think he needed to soften that a lot. I think Finn, though, I will say this to you, if you for some reason you do listen to this someday, I think there's some Survivor strategy that also came into play the round you got eliminated, because sometimes when we watch these games and there's those big splits, those tie votes, directly afterwards you get a unanimous vote, and it's like, how the hell does this happen? And I think it's good gameplay. The reason why is I think the other team is trying to dissolve the lines, blur the lines completely, in the hopes that maybe something can happen in 2 rounds later, but usually they do lose another number. And Finn, you were the easy target there, buddy. I think you make good TV. I think you're a great character. So I'd love to watch you again.
Finn was one of my favorites to edit. I thought he was super fun. He always gives so much about his thought process, and he always gives it in such like an entertaining way. He also like surprises me a lot, or he surprised me a lot throughout the season with his decisions. I mean, obviously with the Maddie vote, it's interesting. Like while he was messy, and maybe the Maddie vote, maybe that was like 1 vote too early for him to flip or something like that. Love that he did it anyway. You know, I'm super happy he did it. I still think he could have gotten out of that next vote alive if he had just not lied about what he did.
Yeah.
If he was upfront and honest and said, yeah, I voted Maddie both times, but I still want to work with the rest of you guys. Where can we go from here? Oh, that's the episode title. Then maybe they would have, then maybe he could have gotten out alive.
Yeah, like basically if he did what Anna did with Zach, I think, because then you get the hilarious scene of the Futia core meeting up and Anna saying, Zach and I were like kicking each other when Finn was lying. And then Finn's like, oh, I almost voted for Maddie, but I didn't. and I remember being like, you think they're going to buy that?
And I think as theater kids too, a lot of these kids are going to college for like the theater classes. So they have the acting, they have like the lying down. But at the same time, like they all know they're actors and like studying this art form about lying and
it's not about lying, Dustyn. But it is dangerous as hell, I'll tell you that. It's a bunch of dangerous fuckers in this season.
So one other thing I forgot. I think I claimed that or predicted that Finn would be the most out of anybody in this season, just because of how everyone talked about him, where he was positioned in the tribe. He just always seemed to be the person likely to go home, which never happened. And the fact that I totally forgot, but he was also a comedic arts major, and I thought that somehow that might play into his character at some point. It didn't. I mean, I know he wasn't like trying to tell jokes, but I was like waiting for something, and I didn't laugh. I'm worried about that.
Well,
what do you expect a comedic arts major in Survivor to just be like, hey, why did the chicken cross the road?
Yeah, okay. I mean, granted, we haven't seen a lot of comedians on Survivor. Like, what do we have? Like Bill Moseley from One World. Like, that's our one comedian out of all of Survivor history. So yeah, no, I don't know what I expected, but maybe a one-liner here or there in a confessional.
Yeah.
The real here, I think, is Austin. Austin is tuning back in. Charlie and Jacob, tell them how you studied musical theater. Hey,
some MTPs here.
That's wrong. We did film.
Those jam bands.
I mean, I think it's an interesting thing that you bring that up, Nathan, because, you know, a lot of the time, especially this season, we see like, oh, I'm an actor. This is going to help me. You have like Anissa and Max in their intro confessional saying, we're journalism majors. This is going to help us. You know, sometimes you're in a major that isn't like explicitly helpful to Survivor. And sometimes, you know, you try to shoehorn it in and try to find some relevance. Cough, cough. Me relating losing an ally to seppuku. Great on my part. Yeah, I totally did that. That's what happens when you study Japanese, I guess. But like, it's such an interesting thing to think. How can what I'm studying right now help me in this community of distrust?
Yeah, that's so true, Austin. It's like I'm an Aries. I'm I'm good at Survivor.
Yeah, it's like Geminis are inherently like two-faced and duplicitous according to stereotypes, but I wouldn't characterize myself as that, right? So it's like, okay, what is my arsenal? And I would have loved to see Finn bring out some of that comedic arts as well. I mean, if you can crack some good jokes and get people to like you and get people to want you to crack more jokes and, do that. I mean, hey, I try to do that. I make stupid puns all the time just to, just for shits and giggles. But I think if you're going to do it in a Survivor context and really try to build a rapport with people that way, it could really work out.
Yeah, and I think Anissa has a nice comment here. She is tuning in. Anissa, we haven't gotten to you yet for obvious reasons. However, she thought the white jacket idea would be right up Finn's alley.
That was also such a fun moment.
There were so many fun moments in this season. They're just what we're here for. We're recapping them.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to walk through these past players and talk about the good experiences we all had. So,
like this player coming up. Are you ready? I'm talking about talk about memories. I'm still gutted.
All right, Kirk, you take it away then.
Okay, I will. Swetha, I adore you. You are someday, somewhere a Survivor winner. You're a winner in my book.
Oh, yeah.
But this is a lesson to everybody at home. Everybody who plays College Survivor or any LRG, if you find an idol at Tribal Council, you play it that round no matter what. I don't care. Nathan, you're going to argue this. I'm sure you are. But play it that round no matter what. Swetha's proven point, I think. God, what would have happened going further? Jacob and Charlie, I'm sure you guys have talked about that too.
Man, what would have? I can't remember what we said.
I mean, if she plays it, Carly gets idled out.
Carly goes.
Yeah.
And then it'd be 4-4 even.
And then, Zach and Anna still have that idol that they can use with Swetha.
I think you're potentially
they might come out on top.
Depending on
the
idol.
Rocks. I agree with you, Kirk. I've seen too many people get an idol at Tribal and get voted out. And I'm just like, just play it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you're gonna make yourself kind of an immediate threat because you're like, hey, I have an idol. But I mean, come on. It's it's the really unfortunate irony of you just get this thing that can save you only for you to just get voted out. And it's like correct me if I'm wrong. No, I'm totally blanking on who said this. But it was who said in the episode after. No, it was Anna. Yeah, it was Swetha didn't see it coming. She didn't do anything to necessarily warrant her elimination, really, at least from Anna's perspective. And so it's that's a tough pill to swallow to get voted out after you just get an idol.
All right.
So, especially when you know that your ally has an idol.
Yeah.
And is making this big pomp about it. So, yes.
Nathan's biting at the bit to retort your comment.
Yeah, well, I'll do glass half full. I will agree partially with you, Kirk, and Austin. I think the mentality isn't definitely play it at the Tribal you find it. I think the move is you play it if there's any question. And there was question here for Swetha, and she didn't play it. Because if you're Anissa and you find it at Tribal, you don't play it, because there's literally no need, and that only ups your target. But Swetha didn't know where the votes were landing because Zach did his whole stunt at that Tribal and trying to throw the votes off of him. Where are they going to land? Probably on her if she does the thinking. And so just because there's any uncertainty, because of Zach's whole stunt, she should have just played it right there. And that was one of the biggest boneheaded moves this season. And I was shouting at the TV for it.
Nathan with the boneheaded moves.
we also got to talk about how Anissa like leans behind Anna and tells Hallie Swatha, and Anna hears it and it doesn't say anything. It's like, imagine if she said something and was like, "Hey, this is happening." Like,
My favorite was
what a
Anissa
live tribal that could be.
Anissa tried to cover up, be like, Hallie,
I love you. Yeah, and I'm just like, again, people aren't gonna believe that.
And Hallie's like, "Oh, I love you too."
Like you're at tribal council, and tribal council is a weird thing. I don't know if like Kirk and Dustyn, you guys have experienced this, but like sometimes like your senses are almost dulled a little bit, and you're kind of like focusing on not giving away too much in your question answering, and so you're not as perceiving of what's going on around you. And I think it definitely, like playing Michigan, like the first half of the season, we were in this really fun location for tribal. So that added an entirely different layer where there's all this scenery going on that's like dulling your senses and making everything muddy. And so you wouldn't notice like someone like leaning behind your back or something like that, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think you're exactly right, because I was talking to Swatha after that happened, and I asked her, like, did you see like this is after the season. I asked her, didn't you like see the whispering that was happening and stuff like that? Like, didn't you get a sense that maybe you needed to play it? And she said she was so zoned in on trying to get this freaking idol untaped from under the seat.
Middle of the box.
Yeah. It was, I guess someone must have taped it pretty tight, I guess.
but
My bad.
and I mean, not that like Swatha's entire game was not completely revolving around this not playing the idol. Like, I mean, even getting the clue was incredible. Like, can we also talk about one of my favorite just challenges ever? I love this challenge. It's chaotic, it's loud, it's crazy. We have people running all over the place and screaming. And then you guys have this brilliant idea to put an idol clue in a balloon. Like, way to go on that. I love it when there are creatively hidden idol clues. And then I love it more when Swatha sees it, doesn't get it, waits till everybody leaves. Y'all are just sitting there hoping someone will come get it.
We were like, no one's got it.
I would be devastated. And then she comes in and grabs it. This is like just chef's kiss moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, all right, we're going to get this. And then it all goes out. But I love watching Swatha just in general. Like, again, just so many amazing social players this season, and to see her quickly rise up to that like top 3 of the core Fatia group with Maddie and Zach, and be a really strong ally and survive the Anthony thinking she was running the show, and in which case, you know, she might, if she maybe had like what happened with Maddie, had she and Maddie fought harder to keep Austin, perhaps there could have been something there. But like we said, you know, Swatha and Austin, that whole thing never really amounts to anything. So it's really cool to see how she was able to survive that. This is a lot of fun stuff. Another person I loved getting to talk to on the podcast, would love to see her play again.
Yeah, but also on that challenge, how did nobody else find that piece of paper? Because not only was it in the center of the room, they were like, some of them were barefoot and stepping on it. Paper in a balloon challenge. Do you not feel the paper underneath your feet? What's going on?
And the loud popping noises.
It was because, like, it was also, the thing was, like, it's not clear from the edit, but it was in the balloon that Zach chose, and his balloon popped second. So it was there from, like, the start. And, like, eventually we'll release, like, all the footage of it, because it's about a 10-minute difference from when they leave the room to when Swatha comes in. Because, like, our production always has a 10-minute rule where we have to stay 10 minutes at every challenge, just because if there is a clue, then they can come back and get it. And if there isn't, they don't think there's anything sus about us still being there. But there's so much footage of me and Charlie just kind of casually screaming back and forth, just out of anger. Like, what the hell? Like, it's not like a small piece of paper. It's big and it's in the center of the room.
Yeah.
What's going on?
No, I think there's a shot of the whole crew. Like the paper was in the middle. Like you
We're all
can see the
posing
paper in the
with
middle of the floor. And the whole crew goes like, "What? What? No one's picking it up."
I love that. Yeah, it's like sometimes, like, and the good thing is you guys put it in a place where, like, it would definitely, or at least have, like, a very high chance of at least being out in the open enough someone would notice it. Versus, like, you put it in, like, the corner of the room or just on a desk or something like that. So it was really good that you made it accessible and the payoff was there.
Yeah, and even from the other side too, over on the jury side, Maddie says that her and Finn were watching Spratha's trial and they saw the whispering, they saw it happening, and it was probably so much they couldn't be like, play the idol. I wonder if they saw like Spratha trying to get the idol, or why she was so crooked doing yoga. Probably was asking her questions. I think.
Stretching.
And then shout out to whoever did the editing. Somebody had a great comment, and you need a raise. Can't find it at the moment. Oh, Billy. Billy said you need a raise. Whoever did the editing on that, because that was like a nail biter too. We were like, get it. Thanks. She got it. No, she didn't get it. Yeah. It was
I'll take a raise. It's from 0 to an actual amount, so I'll take it.
Yeah, right.
Wait, y'all aren't millionaires?
Let's see. Next person up on our list, we have Carly. Carly, we threw your name out so much. At least I did, for sure, thinking you would be the next one, the bottom of the list. Like, you were in a tough situation at first, bonding with Madison and Max. That kind of led you to be on the bottom. However, once Marlon came on, made Marley happen. Marley was one of the best moments to see that blossom, and it was really fun to watch. So Carly was amazing to interview. Carly like remembered the entire thing. Like she had so many details and she wanted to talk about so many things, and I was so like, I watched it twice and I was like, I don't even remember all this stuff. I know she lived through it, but I know it was years ago too. So
yeah, Carly was so much fun.
Yeah.
Kirk, you go.
Yeah, I really like the whole Marley thing. I like the whole. They were the flippers, right?
Yeah,
they were the flippers. It's gutsy. It's probably a bad move. It's awesome to watch. Sorry about you, but you know what? When you're somebody like Carly and your name has consistently come up. Have you played that game, Dustyn? I know you've played that game before. Like when your name comes up constantly, you know what? You're willing to flip and you're willing to make moves, and good for you, Carly. I still say good for you, Carly. I dug it.
Yeah, it's really fun. You know, you get someone like you said who's definitely the cards are looking like they're against the wall. Even that first vote not going Carly's way.
Not all the random votes that Carly got.
Yeah.
Like, oh, who should I vote for? I don't know. Carly?
Yeah, right. And then, you know, this alliance with Max and Marlon was really cool. And I think that especially the Marley duo was great. And I think them latching on to Big H and Anissa for as long as they did after the flip was really smart. And I think they would have been a killer Final Four. And I'm sad that, you know, Big H decided to pull the trigger on Carly there and make that move happen. But I do think Carly would have had a really good story had she made it to the end. And I think she could have definitely articulated how she was really, you know, even though she was on the bottom, she was really actively trying to improve her situation and making the moves she needed to, while also playing a good enough social game, at least with her allies, so that, you know, when she was going to do something that might deviate from what, say, Marlon would want to do, she could, you know, get everyone on the same page. So I really, really liked watching Carly again. Like, I can say this about pretty much everyone on the cast. Love to see him play again. So great stuff from Carly this season.
I'm excited. Actually, that brings up a good point. I'm wondering, Charlie, Jacob, would you play? Yeah,
play in general, or
like a Survivor, or like a live reality game. Like
I've played Jacob and I have both played online reality games.
okay, but not
and they're
anything
fun.
live yet.
I would play a live one.
I would love to. I think it'd be fun. I prefer Big Brother, but I would still play.
Oh, cool.
I would
I would play for sure.
Fun.
Well, cool. I just question just popped in my head. I was like, hey, we haven't asked these folks yet.
Yeah. Carly was my late game favorite. Everyone loves an underdog, and I kind of got Eliza Orlin vibes from her, because she was just always like the person nobody liked for no really good apparent reason. And like she seems fine, but like people were like, yeah, I don't like her and I don't trust her, and she didn't do anything to like warrant it. But she managed to like scrap her way all the way to final eight, which was really impressive. But no, it was I just enjoyed watching her. It was whoever she said her friend said that she would be reality TV gold, and I agree. Yes, go play more things, play more live reality games, Carly, because you're fun.
And of course, Carly's listening to us right now, folks. So.
And to keep gassing up Carly here, watching her kind of develop a strategy throughout the season was phenomenal, because she comes in not knowing anything about Survivor and is thrown on the bottom of Fatia. Then the swap hits, and you really see Carly come alive as a strategist during those rounds, where she had the opportunity to flip, but she takes Austin out of the game first, which I love that move on paper. Specifically, because you're taking out an ally of Maddie and Swetha, a little less so for Swetha than it appeared. But still, you're doing that. You still have Big H and Anthony. I love that move, and you save your actual flip till the merge, because I think if she flips a little too early, then she is a bigger target coming into the merge, where she loses all faith from Fatia even earlier. So I love watching her strategy progress throughout the season, and I'm so blessed she was a part of the season, because Marley, of course, is also something we love. Yes, Carly.
Gas her up as much as you want. So. And really, we had that conversation too. I think we were recapping the episode when I think Max left, and we are like, wow, we really saw Carly step up her game. Maybe Max was just getting her distracted from her style of gameplay, and she really stepped up after Max left too, and she had to fight a little bit harder, and she fought.
Yeah, and she played Temple of Risk.
She did. Not a lot of people did.
Why wouldn't you play it? And she played it. Right? So kudos to her. She gets points.
Yeah, and that kind of reminds me of something I thought, towards the beginning of the season was, were we going to see, especially as we get to the jury, is the jury going to reward going out for those Temple of Risks? Because for me, right, you see a lot of these CBS Survivor seasons where they have these big themes. I'm going to call it out, Island of the Idols, where the Island of the Idols doesn't really end up playing much of a biggest part as you kind of would hope, considering it's A, the name of the theme, and B, the central twist of the season, right? And so for the Temple of Risk to be your big marquee twist that you're introducing for this season, at least for me, I would be like, I want to see you go for this, right? You have the opportunity to, you should use it. Now, there's also a thing where you don't want to over risk it for the biscuit, as the episode 1 puzzle was. But, sometimes you do need to make that risk in order to kind of, especially if you're on the bottom, get that leg up. And so I did really appreciate Carly going for those Temple of Risk challenges, even though, sometimes it doesn't always work out.
Jacob and Charlie, I have a question for you. Well, 2 questions. So one is, why no Temple of Risk after merge? And 2 is okay, if I was in this game and I was playing Temple of Risk, if I was playing as a player in this game and I saw Temple of Risk and I saw the punishment for the what was the capture the flag challenge was just to
Yeah.
sit a person out,
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, I'm never gonna not play these. Why was that punishment so weak?
Yeah, I can answer at least the first. I can answer
I'll
the
get
first
the
part.
second one. I'll get the second
You got
one.
the second part? Cool.
Yeah.
Good teamwork, Charlie. So
Let me think
Temple
about my
versus post merge. Like Charlie and I, at least when we talk about Survivor in general, we're very, I guess mid school isn't a big term, but like mid schoolish Survivor, where like the big themes aren't overtaking your season. Like we more so like watching the actual strategy and social relationships over a game changing twist, like fans' favorites, Island of the Idols, stuff like that. So when we come up with twists, we want them to be a part of the season, but not the season. So we wanted to preferably keep them towards the beginning of the season so that advantages can come in at the beginning and dwindle out through the season, so we don't have a idol getting Sareed out, because that's just disgusting. And I know we did have one more that was planned like in the mid merge that just genuinely, because we're all students, none of the producers could actually get together. So that's just because, Charlie and I are also full-time students, and we'd spend so much time in confessionals with these people and then also doing challenges and all that. And then at some points we sleep and go to our classes. But, the second part's Charlie. Go, Charlie. Yeah.
To answer your second question,
Maddie would like to chime in for a moment on that punishment. Real quick, Maddie says her favorite part of the season is when it looked like she hadn't ran a day in her life. And as she says later, he's absolutely correct. And then now, Charlie, why that punishment? And
so that's the thing about the punishments is, you could say that, we put in some maybe weaker punishments so that people would be encouraged to go out for these Temple of Risks more. I think the reality is we didn't, it's hard to estimate the effect of these punishments. For example, Anthony's, where it's like you have to say your vote out loud in the next tribal, that could have been detrimental, in another circumstance. But in that specific situation, it meant nothing. Everyone was going to vote for Austin. I guess same with capture the flag, where it was a pretty weak punishment. It could have been worse, but they sat out. They got to sit out Maddie, which worked out okay for them.
Which probably helped them.
Maddie.
Let's be real.
And
Zach's punishment was pretty detrimental that he couldn't participate in the one challenge that he's like, I'm a runner. I can't do the running challenge out of all the challenges.
Running seems to be a theme with these punishments.
Yeah.
But I do also want to say, like, touching on the not having them, like, all the time, like, it's one thing to be a player and playing these games and balancing everything, but being a producer and trying to manage the logistics and the supplies and everything is a pain. And so I totally understand why you guys just like weren't able to have it all the time. And I think as much as, we'd love to see it more, I know firsthand, it doesn't always work out like that. So it makes sense to me.
And who would love to see some more is this next participant coming up. Austin, one of your early favorites.
Yeah.
So Austin, if you want to do a quick intro here for...
Sure. Anna! I was so torn between Anna and Zach as my winner picks pretty much from the get-go. I love both of them and was really hoping they both do well. Anna in particular was someone who I just really felt connected to. And I think her arc really proved my initial intuition right about that. Watching her go from being on the bottom and by all rights could have been the first boot to someone who played really, a loyal game, a strategic game, making, her own moves and taking her fate into her hands to get her to being able to play with the people who she needed to be playing with. And although it didn't work out in her favor, due to some other moves that were made, I think it was just an absolute pleasure to watch her play, and someone I would love to see get another go if that's in the cards.
Yeah, pre-merge. I remember throughout pre-merge, our perceptions of Anna was like, yeah, she's sticking with her allies. She's in the game, and then suddenly, episode 6, she comes out with this. Oh, I don't trust anybody in my alliance anymore. I'm going to step it up. Throw away the rose-colored
glasses.
Yeah. Colors. I forget the exact wording.
Yeah. She said that, and then she came out of nowhere, and I thought from that point she was amazing to watch. And I don't think we realized the full extent of her gameplay until editing the season, and she was super fun to edit.
I do want to bring up one thing that I noticed. I actually think I forgot to mention this in both the podcasts with her and with Zach. But there was at one point, I don't remember exactly what it was, when Anna said that Zach was the one person she was okay going home to save. Let's marinate on that. And then it happens. He goes home because Zach gave her the idol. And she
Zach had some very interesting game moves and was like, hey, Anna, final 2, and then let me do this thing.
Another just perfect, quote that foreshadows itself. It's just one more reason why I love Anna's arc. It's because it shows just growth, which is one of my favorite kinds of just edit narratives, or just even not even edit game narratives, is watching people start from the bottom and fight their way to the end and do it in a way that's really compelling. So really props to Anna on that.
All right, folks.
I'll say something. And my favorite part of Anna's game was when she really turns it up at Final 8 and starts to concoct this plan to pretend that she's distant from Zach and has a plan. And that was really exciting.
Such a good plan.
So few people who play these games come up with plans. I mean, really, so many people just kind of feel their way through the game. I think it's the majority. And so to watch somebody wake up in the game and then to say, I'm not in a good position. These are the steps I'm going to take. Outline it in her confessionals and in her conversations with Zach, and then try to pull it off. Didn't work, but I love that she came up with something. And then she goes and does her boneheaded move of not playing the idol, which, wipes everything else away,
I do love Anna. She is probably out of everyone on this cast, one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. She's incredible. And I also love that plan because she fully, gets Anissa. Anissa comes out of that conversation. It's all right, I guess they're not a thing anymore. That's great because that's one less pair. And it's a part of the reason why in that same round, Carly goes out, because Carly and Marlon, at least from Anissa's perspective now and Big H's, is that they're the only other pair left in the game. So it works from that sense. But then, you have one of the 30 antics that Zach pulls off at Tribals where he's like, here, Anna, I'm going to give this to you. And Anissa's like, well, if he didn't trust you.
Yeah. I mean, to Anna's credit, she was, whether that was kind of the plan or not, was very much selling, at least from what I could tell, that the whole Zach giving her the idol thing was not planned. And I think it could have reasonably been portrayed as she was trying to distance herself from him and Zach was not having it. But then, when we know that they are still trying to, work together, it's a really funny kind of ironic thing that unfortunately, ends pretty badly for some awesome players. But it's just another reason why Survivor is such a crazy game.
Mm-hmm. I know we're talking about some of our favorite moments of season 4. One of my new favorite moments is when the audience gives Nathan a hard time about his choices. So Annie chimes in and says that is why she did not do the Temple of Risk as much, because you never know what the risk might be, Nathan. So
yeah, but those challenges weren't physical, Maddie. You could have done them. You could have balanced the ball on a plate. You could have solved the word jumble. You would have been faster than 20 minutes. I know you could have done that.
All right, and then moving on to our final person of jury, and then we'll take a break and do something a little fun here for a moment before we recap the last 5 and make our predictions to see who the winner of season 4 Survivor Boston is. One click too far, and then we have our last jury member, most recently sitting down with us and talking, Zach, our huge Survivor fan, super knowledgeable, super gameplay extraordinaire, I guess you can say. He pulled out every single thing he had in his book, and it wasn't quite enough. Thoughts about Zach, Nathan?
Yeah, his picture is so serious. Why? I don't think he ever made that face during the show. He kind of looks like he's scowling in it for those just listening, which is so uncharacteristic of Zach. So, no, I thought Zach was good. He was really good. He surpassed my expectations. I predicted he'd be out third. Because I thought he was going to overplay, and he didn't end up doing that. He showed restraint. And then when he got in a bad position, he had some of the right instincts, to prop up his threat level, to lower his threat level in some ways. So he had some good instincts. Not always smooth on the execution, but I like what I was seeing for most of the season from Zach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I had him as my winner pick. I was really rooting for him, and a lot of what I was worried about was that he would kind of overplay, and a lot of more what we saw in his later episodes was going to be how he started off the game. But I think he was such a good kind of under-the-radar social player, getting that alliance together with the Core Fatia 5 and being pretty much on the top of it. Mm-hmm. And letting kind of Maddie, spearhead that Madison vote, having unintentionally Swatha as kind of a shield with the non-existent Austin alliance. And it really, the only person who was kind of onto Zach was Max for a while. And then, the whole Zach versus Anissa feud kind of becomes an arc. And that was really interesting to watch, 2 of my favorite players be on completely opposite sides of the field and seeing how that plays into it. So it's really fun to watch Zach, someone I definitely consider a kindred spirit in Survivor fandom. Mm-hmm. And it's really sad to see him not pull out the win, but it was a true pleasure to watch him play. And I think for every, bad move he made, it's like you said, Jacob, you'd rather see them make the wrong moves than no moves. It was so fun to watch. And I think, like I said, these are the players who are going to help drive the season. And Zach was totally a driver for the season, and he made it really good. It was definitely well cast.
Turning to Kirk real quick as another big move player, just based on his current season of Survivor BC, which is currently airing. Kirk is pretty notable for making some big moves. What do you think about the big moves that Zach made?
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never made a big move in case you ever played a game against me. But Zach should have clearly, correct me if I'm wrong. When did he give the idol to her? At Tribal?
Mm-hmm. At Tribal.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like he made a lot of good moves. Austin, there was little hiccups along the way. I think he was relatively playing a really good game. I agree with most everything Nathan just said. I only think the really bad move was just not playing the idol on her. And
yeah.
If you're going to give it to somebody, don't you do that before the vote happens, right? You do that on the island. You do that Jacob, you're in possession of the idol. There's no reason. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't think of the reason that you do that in front of everybody. I'd rather go, I have the idol. I'm
right.
saying.
Mm-hmm. What he did the first time.
Well, he already played that move once, so he's I have the idol.
Yeah.
So he had to come up with something else.
Yeah.
It was free information. It was free information. He didn't need to give him.
Yeah.
But yeah, great player. Zach, would love to watch you again. Love your commentary, everything, and love your TikToks.
Yeah, I love Zach. I loved hosting Zach. I think it's funny because, let's be real, he made a lot of the wrong decisions. But I don't think I ever thought, and I think Jacob can agree with this, that made him not a good player, because we could all see the mentality behind his decisions, because there was so much that went in, there was so much intricacy that went into his thought process. That was like, it's so fun to watch because you could tell he was really passionate about the game.
Yeah.
And I think that even though he made a lot of the wrong decisions, I think he was still a really good player.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, Charlie. Like, a part of why season 4, like in my mind, is what it is because we have someone who's on the bottom, like Zach, who's making these or trying to make these big moves. Like, you could be sitting getting pagonged this entire time, or you could stand up and try to do something about it, even though, you know, he wasn't always on the bottom. Like, he was at least trying. He was making these moves, and that's what I always appreciate about him. And he, you know, he's one of those players where, like, in a different circumstance, like, he can destroy a season and like Kim Spradlin his way through if he needs to. Like, I think he's phenomenal. And also, yeah, his TikToks are wonderful.
All right, we're gonna switch it up for just a moment. Nathan has a little surprise for us.
Yes, because I have too much time on my hands, I have made a game for us to play. This is a trivia quiz. Kirk, you mentioned that you're going to be on a podcast with Jordan Kalish from RHAP. You know, he does a quiz this week in Survivor history on his podcast, and I thought, you know, let's bring some Survivor Boston history into this finale recap. So, although I didn't want to like actually go and rewatch everything to make this quiz, so I decided to. Yeah, right. So I decided to pull from something that we all love and cherish, which is Hallie at Tribal Council.
Oh my goodness!
So, all of these questions are about Hallie at Tribal Council.
All right.
Nathan.
I'm going to hope I can get at least one question right, because there's one detail or two details that I can remember.
So we're gonna play in two teams. One team is going to be the live reality game podcasters of Kirk, Dustyn, and Austin, and the other team is going to be the Survivor Boston hosts Charlie and Jacob. So we are going to see who knows Hallie's tribal council habits better.
Oh boy.
Shit.
Okay,
For podcast for this, actually, so I'm excited.
So we're going to give it to the guests of this podcast first, Charlie and Jacob. We're going to start with round 1, which is just 1-point questions.
Cool.
There are 6 questions total in this quiz, so 3 per team. The first round, each team's going to get a 1-point question. Would you like question 1 or question 2?
Your pick, Charlie.
1.
Okay. Question 1. In the episode 11 Tribal Council, where Anna was voted out, Hallie repeats an earlier snack that she had eaten during Tribal Council. What was the repeated snack she ate? Now, before you answer, all of the questions on this quiz have multiple choice answers, but if you opt to not get the multiple choice answers, a la in Twish, you can get double the points. So you can get 2 points now if you decide to answer without multiple choice. That being said, if you answer wrong, you get no points. If you want to just take the multiple choice questions, you will get 1 point.
Jacob, I think we're good. I remember she
I feel like
she hands Anna some sort of chip.
I'm
like
pretty.
A bag of...
I thought it was like a pirate's booty kind of thing.
Oh, I think it's Pirate's Booty. It's Pirate Booty. It's Pirate Booty for sure.
Okay. Are we willing to just go in for Pirate's Booty?
I'm pretty sure that's it. No,
Okay,
wait, Justin's shaking his head. No, should we do it? Let's do it.
I felt like, because the second he said Hallie, I started thinking the foods, and the only one I thought of was Pirate's Booty, unless if I'm an insane person.
Let's go with our gut. Let's
just go with the gut. Let's do it. Why not?
Okay. Pirate's Booty is correct. You get 2 points.
That's one of the ones I knew.
There we go.
That's why I was shaking my head.
Okay. So, team live reality game podcasters, you get the other unchosen question.
We do have viewers commenting too. Viewers get a point too. I think Maddie had the right answer. Oh no. Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe Tortilla, maybe. Oh, great platter right there. We
Rachel
go.
got it, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
like
okay.
tortilla chips. I thought it was just
Viewers,
plain tortilla.
Yeah, some of these answers might be spoilers. We'll see. Okay, so your question, guys. At one tribal, Hallie ate Tostitos. This was also the only time she sat in the back row. Which tribal was it?
Oh, I don't know this one.
Sir Austin, I have no idea. So
Yeah.
in the back row.
Charlie, do you know it?
Oh, it was. I know that what tribal. I don't know what number it is. Austin,
I'll take a name or episode number. A name of
it
who
was
voted out.
Swetha, because remember.
Oh
Yeah,
Yeah,
Swetha.
that's round 9, right?
I don't. It was the Swetha vote.
Are you looking for a round number or?
Either one. Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you are correct.
Oh, thank you, Dustyn.
Tied it up 2-2. Okay, up next we have Charlie and Jacob choosing the question. We have 4 questions to choose from. So would you like question? Would you like question 1, 2, 3, or 4?
3 or 4 speaks to me, Jacob. What? Pick between those.
Or is it
You're
that?
muted. You're muted.
Let's do 3. I feel 3.
3.
Okay. This is question 3, worth 2 points if you take the multiple choice, or 4 points if you go without multiple choice. So this question has 2 answers to it, and you have to get both of them correct to get both of the points. If you get one of them correct, then yeah, you get one of the points. Which tribals did Hallie attend and not have a snack? Which tribals did Hallie attend and not have a snack?
Charlie, I know one of them.
Jess's boot, right?
I was saying Brady's boot. So do we have both of them? Because I don't think she eats anything at Brady. Because like that's her first one, and I don't think she knows that she's allowed to yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any merge tribal. Because those are the only pre-merge tribals. Oh, I don't want to say too much about this in case there's a question.
Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, so a clarification question. So if we were to guess 2 with the multiple choice and get 1, is that how many points would that be?
Without the multiple choice.
Without multiple choice.
Yeah, actually,
If it's any, it could just be nothing. It could be like all or nothing.
I think you get nothing if you don't get both of them.
Sure.
I think we go Brady's and Jess's, right?
I think we do. I feel like we have to.
Yeah. It's
Right.
Brady's and Jess's.
Yeah. You edit the tribals. I trust you.
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Brady and Jess.
The tribals Hallie attended and did not eat any snacks were episode 2, Brady's Tribal Council, and episode 3, Jess's Tribal Council.
There we go.
I knew that one.
Okay. So we got 6 points for Charlie and Jacob, 2 points for Live Reality Games podcasters. Let's go back to Kirk, Dustyn, and Austin. Y'all can pick a question between question 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4.
4, please.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
4.
Question 4.
Thank you.
This is a 2-part question.
Here.
In which tribal did Hallie forget her buff?
Oh,
And
got it.
for a bonus point, who lent her a flannel as a substitute?
Austin, you got this.
It was the tribal where it was Yeah, it was her first tribal. It was the Brady tribal. Jess lent her the flannel, right? Dustyn and Kirk.
Go for it, bro.
Yeah.
I don't remember. at
I
all.
really thought it was the one that just got voted out.
I'm not. Because I'm pretty sure because it's like because Hallie's like I never have my buff, and I'm pretty sure it's like the first one because Charlie's like you are gonna take your buff and drown it in the water because we don't have fire. So I'm pretty sure it's her first one, which is when Brady was out.
We can have Charlie's sister on our team, but no, let's go with your vote, Austin. Okay.
Okay, so what is your final answer?
So the final answer is
Brady vote.
the Brady vote and Jessica to the flannel.
The tribal council was the Brady vote.
Yes.
Oh my god.
And Jess lent her a flannel to use instead of a buff.
So the two things when you said Hallie, right? Hallie related, or that came to my mind were Pirate's Booty, Jess's flannel. So at least one of them was a question I can answer.
And I think we learned that Rachel's not on our team. She's trying to throw us off, just like Jackie.
We're back tied up again. Okay, Team Survivor Boston. Would you like question 1 or question 2?
Let's do 2 this time.
Let's go for it.
Okay. In episode 7, Tribal Council, where Maddie was blindsided, what was the brand of chip that Hallie ate? And for a bonus point, what was the flavor?
It's Tostitos, right?
Was it Tostitos?
What other chip? I'm pretty sure it was Tostitos.
Or was it Doritos? I don't think it was Doritos. It was Tostitos, right?
You can get Dorito fingers all over.
I'm just saying because I have Doritos.
You can always ask for multiple choice too.
Yeah, you're just trying to screw us up, Nathan. Let's. I think we go Tostitos. Should we go hint of lime?
Does Hallie seem like the kind of person that likes lime?
Rachel asked, the question is, in episode 7, Tribal Council, where Maddie was blindsided, what was the brand of chip that Hallie ate? And for a bonus point, what was the flavor?
Were they just regular? I mean, regular is a flavor, right? I mean, if you think they're lime, then we'll go with lime, because all I know is Tostitos. I was too focused on the white jacket.
Let's do lime Tostitos. It's a bonus. The lime is a bonus point, so it's
Lime's
okay.
bonus? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go with it.
Final answer, hint of lime Tostitos.
So you are unfortunately incorrect. The chip that Hallie ate was Pirate's Booty. It was the first time she ate Pirate's Booty in Tribal Council.
Pirate's Booty, a kind of chip.
That sounds right. Yeah.
And the flavor that she ate was aged white cheddar.
Oh, fancy Pirate's Booty. Got it.
I had to research Pirate's Booty chip bags so I could figure that out. It was a really in-depth process. Okay.
Man.
For last question for live reality podcasters.
Mm-hmm.
In the episode 8 Tribal Council where Finn went home, Hallie was eating something out of a bowl. What was it? And for a bonus point, what color was the bowl?
Oh, God. I straight up could not tell you.
I believe it was cereal. I'm going to guess
I thought it was
cereal
too, but
I'm going to guess a green bowl.
I thought it was turquoise. Like
What?
blue-green.
Teal.
Can we cover
Turquoise is on a blue-green spectrum. I don't remember, but cereal sounds right to me.
Do you want to sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, if we get that right, we win. So
There we go.
All right.
And we said teal, right? So
sure. That's my favorite color. So hopefully it doesn't screw us up.
I think our viewers have got the question correct, though. So
Okay, so you answered cereal and teal. What we needed, I was looking for was salad in the bowl.
Rachel.
And a little bit teeter-totter color reading here. I really had it as blue, not teal.
Can you count that?
I think I'm gonna not count it, and I think we have to go to a tiebreaker here for all the marbles, which I have also prepared a tiebreaker. So here we go. Winner takes all. At some point during the season, Hallie stops eating during Tribal Council discussions and begins eating only during the voting phase. The team to guess the Tribal Council episode number that this happens without going over wins. So I need you all to discuss what your number you're going to guess.
Can I just
Text me.
Am I allowed to text Charlie? Because I feel like I know.
Yeah,
this.
you could text Charlie. Kirk, Dustyn, Austin might use the private chat or something.
we have Facebook Messenger.
I know what it is.
At home, along.
Jacob and Charlie can see it.
I totally know what it is. I just want to confirm.
I don't know what it is.
So I'm going to repeat the question. At some point during the season,
not
Hallie
gonna
stops
repeat
eating during tribal council discussions and begins eating only during the voting phase. The team that guessed the tribal council / episode number that this happens without going over wins.
Oh, yes,
When-
was.
when
Are
we get-
good.
We're locked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go with it. Let's, I think so.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll start with reality
Sure.
podcasters. What's your number?
We went with 5.
5. Okay, and Charlie and Jacob?
Said not to go over. Safe bet.
11. Anna's travel.
Okay, the answer is she stops eating during discussions at episode 10. Carly's
Wait, we
tribal
should have just
council.
said 10. We should have just said 10.
Ah,
So the
I just feel like
live
this-
reality podcasters win.
I don't know if we deserve that. But I'll say,
Played it safe.
No, you totally did, because that was the rule was guessing you can't go
we should
over.
have said was 6. We should have just said 6.
yeah, why did we do that?
Why did I?
I was
Yo,
so
I would be-
confident that it was Anna.
I would be bad at immunity challenges.
God.
Well, I guess now you can get voted out of the podcast. So I'm sorry to say.
Give me my
Hold on.
ball.
All right.
Gosh.
that was fun.
I couldn't think of a more arbitrary
That
trivia
was fun,
topic
though.
than
Thank you for
Hallie
making
snacks.
them Hallie related. I appreciate that.
Beautiful.
Thank you, viewers, too, for playing along. Jackie, Anissa, and Rachel, Billy also played. So bonus points to the viewers. All right. I think the
The
viewers,
viewers
won
win.
in general. So
And thank you to
We tied.
Hallie for the inspiration.
Thank you, Allie.
Thank
We
you,
love
Allie.
it.
and Nathan, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now it brings us to the time that we'll do the little recap. So, as far as we've
Hey,
talked about so far,
Real quick, I
Yes.
need to pee very badly, so I'm going to do that real quick when you guys start.
we
Okay.
Pee break.
Can I
We forgot to
second?
tell Charlie there's a private chat, so we could have messaged it.
Okay.
Well, I have to too, so I'm not going to make him feel embarrassed. by
I
himself.
should have.
Okay.
All right.
Well, fantastic.
Hey,
All
be
right.
right back.
No
Cool.
That's
worries.
okay. I think they're just embarrassed by their loss.
We are. Maddie's texting us right now saying that
Oh,
we should
boy.
have actually thought about this.
Well, let's bring the viewers back up for real quick too, while they are taking a moment of time for themselves. Let's see here. Jackie, we'll be getting to you pretty soon here, talking about Jackie and the likelihood of you winning. We have some fans in the audience, I know. For Big H, somebody was talking about Big H earlier. And of course, we have Jackie and Anissa here with us now. So many comments are coming in.
I'm
So.
ready to talk about him. I don't need the host.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. I want to talk about these 5.
All right, let's see here.
This is what I was here, came 2 hours ago for.
All right, Kirk, we'll kick off your predictions and we'll catch the boys up later. So
I know the boys aren't here. Let's bring it up. But Nathan and Austin, did you guys realize? Nathan, was it who rewatched it? Was it Austin?
I honestly, like rewatched some of the episodes today.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
I did realize something interesting about this final 5 though. Let me bring up my notes. So I wrote it down. So episode 1, we go back to the opening confessionals. Everybody but Hallie, so that's Anissa, Jackie, Big H, and Marlon, all have like intro confessional where they introduce themselves before the intro, which I thought was really interesting. Now that like I'm going back and trying to like look at foreshadowing and stuff. So don't know if that was intentional or not.
What 100% Austin. That's what I wanted to talk about.
Hey.
I found it super striking in a rewatch. I look for those clues. Is it a clue of who's the final 4? Or what was the other interesting thing? And I almost wish Charlie and Jacob were here for this, but it's like we've been seeing a lot of kind of UTR, under the radar, not super strong strategists, alpha players kind of winning Survivor, especially college Survivors that I've seen lately. And so, I'm thinking of Ellie, especially in UVA. And Ellie and Hallie would fit the same archetype. So right before they get to it, it's like, who will be the last one standing? And Hallie's not the one we see. And it makes me wonder, oh my God, could Hallie be the last one standing? Literally?
I mean, so I don't really like to get into the edit that much with College Survivor. Maybe that's just because like it's not, you see like a lot of the same tropes, but for me, that's kind of why I stopped really trying to pay attention too much to it in Real Survivor too. I like to kind of go in thinking everyone has a shot, and so I think that if there is some like insane 8D chess foreshadowing that, Jacob and Charlie have put in to this, I mean, it'll be really fun to see it kind of after the fact. But yeah, I noticed a lot of that stuff, and it's just like when you have, especially in College Survivor, what I think is different than like CBS Survivor, like Australian Survivor, like Survivor SA, all that is, I think in College Survivor we see, a very kind of polar opposite sort of spectrum of winners, where you'll have really out there winners who have an iron grip on the game, who are, often either like a big target or someone who's able to not be a target but control a lot of the game, or we're going to have someone a lot more UTR. And so I think what's great about this final five that we have is we have some really great iron grip players and some really great UTR players. So we can totally go either way. And I mean, I can say that I think anybody out of this final five winning, they have an arc, right? It's not like nobody has really made an impression on the game. And I think my philosophy is you can win the game at the like final three or at final four, depending on if it's final three. Like, we see it in like Edge of Extinction, really. Like, where there's still a lot that can go wrong for anybody. There's still a lot that can go right for anybody. So it's fun to think about it going into the finale. Are there some little clues that we can pick up on, or is it really just feeding into the kind of paranoia state of the game and we're just overthinking everything? So that's where it gets really like psychologically kind of mind-fucking. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. I really think you made a good point too. There's lots of game to play still. We still have these five players left, and we know it's the final two. So there's lots of time to mess something up or for something to start. You never know.
There is, and yet there's not for a couple players. I mean, I don't think Marlon and Hallie stand a shot at this game unless they're in the final two with each other.
But still, that's a way to the end.
Yeah.
It is a way to the end. But is that going to happen? Probably not, because they're kind of on opposing sides of this five. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen them have a conversation. So I just don't see that happening. I think if there's an under the radar player to win, Jackie is the one most in contention to do that.
Yeah, I think she's been playing incredible, and like I'll admit, like it definitely took me a while to definitely see her as a contender, and I think that's intentional. Because I think she, had to deal with being so tightly connected to Austin at the, onset of the game, and she was on the bottom of Katai. And then, she starts kind of wriggling her way into the middle, forming these social bonds, and she's damn good at it. Mm-hmm. And it was really fun to watch that and to see her especially, start to have the wheels turn and be like, I know I need to make my move. It's all about when and who I'm making it on. And that is so important, because what we've seen so many times this season is if you make your move too early, you're screwed. If you make your move too late, you're screwed. So it really is finding that balance. And it's way easier said than done. But thinking about it and being really inherently cognizant of that is the first step. So it all matters if she's able to capitalize on that. And I think she's got, this relationship with Big H that could help her. She's got a relationship with Hallie that could help her. And so I think that there's definitely a strong case that she can make against anybody, but I definitely think, I mean, what you said, Nathan, that I think if you're going up against Marlon or Hallie, you're probably going to have an easier time against the jury unless the jury's like incredibly bitter towards anybody. But I just don't get that vibe from this group, which is always a good thing.
Really the conversation too. That's why I listed jury here, because it's so important. Kirk, you have thoughts about the jury?
Yeah, I mean, I just hosted Survivor UVA, and that was the bitterest of juries I've ever seen in my life. In fact, they wore hats that said petty. I'm here for a petty jury. I love a petty jury, but this 6 right here, they don't strike me as petty. So in that sense, it makes me wonder if Hallie or Marlon could win, because sometimes we see some of those players get the win when we have a more bitter jury.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Nathan, Austin, do you think, I don't feel like this is going to be a bitter jury.
I don't either.
I don't. I'm usually a bitter juror when I play these games, and surprise, surprise, I don't get that vibe from this group. I do think it's a little funny that we have Finn at the end of the beginning part of the jury lineup here. It's a little bit of subtle shade towards Finn, but yeah,
random order.
But isn't it not in order? Except for that, okay.
Yeah, no.
Really?
It's in order except Maddie and Finn switch, but that's okay.
Random how that happened.
So, yeah, I don't think they're going to be bitter. I think this group has been outplayed, and they're going to recognize that. Anissa has dominated this game, and it's going to, if Anissa makes it even to the final 3, they're probably still going to talk about her in the final jury questions. I think all conversation is going to be about her, because if Anissa doesn't make it there and Big H does, it's going to be, Big H, did you really do anything? Or did you? And if Jackie makes it there, it's going to be, did you do? Did you really outplay Anissa? I don't see Anissa and Jackie making it there to the end, but I could see Big H making it there with either one.
Who is the only person to vote against Anissa so far? Hallie.
Yeah, I believe it is. Because Anissa only has 2 votes against. Both of those were, or no, Brady voted for Anissa. I think.
Hallie's trying to come back on the Brady was robbed thing.
Yeah, so. That's in my notes. I don't know if that's 100% true. But on that kind of note of like bitter jury and everything, what I'm going to be really curious to see is the potentially inevitable, maybe not, fallout between Anissa and Big H if one of them targets and eliminates the other, especially if one of them wins final immunity and eliminates the other at 3. Because I think that it makes 0 sense for them to go against each other because they've been so like tightly knit. But the thing is nobody knows that they're so tightly knit. But then Anissa's way more in the spotlight than Big H is. So again, it's going to be like, Big H, did you really do anything? But no matter who he's against in the final 2, if he's in the final 2, this is where Big H needs to articulate the hell out of his game. And I've seen it before where a player who has played more in the shadow, has played a really good game, just doesn't articulate their game well enough to the jury and doesn't get the win that they probably deserve over someone who maybe, just like didn't play as good of a game on that kind of level. And I mean, sure, it's all the jury's perspective and what the jury is going to think as like majority collective. But that's why I think this group of 5 is so interesting, because we have people who, as viewers, we might perceive, that Marlon and Hallie maybe have 0 chance. But who knows, maybe they do. We think Anissa, if she makes it to the end, has it locked up. What if she bombs FTC, right? So that's why these finales are always like the most nerve-wracking. Like sometimes it's like more so than like who's going to be the first boot, because we've like spent this time developing our perceptions of these players, and we want to see them, end on a strong note. And for the people who I've really, really enjoyed watching Anissa and Big H and Jackie, and you want to see them put that capstone and really own their game. But then I also want to see Marlon and Hallie own their games too. And we've seen that, especially with Hallie, saying, I know I'm a pawn. And I think there's something to be said for knowing you're a pawn and being able to use herself to her advantage and other people's advantages as a pawn. And the name of the game is don't get voted out. Survive, right? Now, that can be a very base form of survival because there's, a lot more that can go into it. But who knows? Maybe there will be people who really respect that. So it's just going to be such an interesting thing to see how it all plays out.
Mm-hmm. And taking us back real quick, let's take a look at our initial cast assessments here. Just saying, I still have 2 in the final 3 here. I still got Jackie and Anissa. So either one, I think I'm winning at the moment.
I think you probably won this, Dustyn.
I don't know. We have Marlon still for you, and then Anissa could be 3rd, and Nathan could. I don't know. I don't think Nathan.
I think
that's a tie. Looking at that, I'm like, nope, I don't think so.
Dustyn, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You usually do terrible. You're moving up.
Well, I started kind of rough.
You started pretty rough. But hey, it's not always how, the first few votes shake out. It's how the end plays out.
True.
All right, Nathan, what do you think? How's it gonna shake out for these last 5?
Okay. Okay. Looking at the votes here, where are the allegiances at? We have Anissa and the Big H, and Hallie. Really, Hallie's with Anissa. Big H also kind of has Jackie on the side. Anissa doesn't like Jackie being in the game. Anissa likes Marlon being in the game, but Big H also doesn't want Marlon in the game. Marlon's also kind of on the outs. So I think this first vote is crucial for where the vote goes from there, because I think it's either going to be Marlon or Jackie, and it's going to be a little bit of a kingmaker vote. If Marlon stays in the game, I think Anissa has this, and Jackie goes home. I think Anissa has this on lock, and I think vice versa. If Marlon goes home and Jackie stays in the game, I think Big H is going to the end. I don't know that he's winning. From there, I think it kind of shakes out whether Big H can actually betray Anissa outright. That's another big question we have coming into this. I don't know that he has that in him. I don't know that he needs to, especially if he goes down a final 3 with her and somebody else wins. I just don't know, based on all of the interviews and discussions we've had over the course of the season, and the surprise that people have had at Big H and Anissa's relationship, that he's actually going to, even if he says how close they were working together, that anyone's actually going to believe it. There's something to be said about, even if it's true, if they didn't see it, they're not going to believe it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Rachel makes a good point too. What if Anissa does take Big H out? And we saw the move from Big H taking Carly out. Big H kind of led that fight. Anissa really wasn't voting for Carly out. Carly still was with Marlon, and the 4 of them were working together. And Anissa was like, maybe now is not the time. But Big H is like, no, we got to take her out now. And I thought that was really bold from Big H. I really thought that was an Anissa kind of move. She was going to lead that charge eventually. And my prediction from that week. So I'm so surprised that Big H did that. And so I don't know if Big H, people have been telling him about how strong she is and how much of a power player Anissa is. So maybe he's going to listen to them and see it as a good move to take Anissa out when he is able to, with Jackie, perhaps. So
maybe I think like you said, Nathan, it could be a very well kingmaker move for Big H if he's able to, let's say he uses Jackie, takes out Anissa, then wins immunity, takes out Jackie, then he's sitting pretty, and all he has to do is convince Marlon and Hallie to take him or win immunity, and he's golden. So I think that he, just based on that Carly vote and his willingness to get revenge for Anthony, and everything. Like I think he has it in him to take out Anissa, especially because like Dustin said, like he's been on this receiving end of a lot of secondhand, like, oh, Anissa's a big threat, Anissa's a big threat from other people. And I think that he's probably the most in tune to just a lot of other people and their perceptions on the game, just based on how Anissa's been kind of closed off to some people in the middle because of like their closer ties to like the Zach Anna side of things. So perhaps Big H just has more of those connections and can use them and leverage those when he's dealing with the jury. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And we will not know until when's the next episode? Thursday at 8 p.m. on YouTube. That premieres live. So make sure everyone tuning in tonight and everyone tuning into the recap here at whatever date. It is this 11th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. And get those comments going for the live chats too. It's always exciting to see how the game goes down and watching live with everyone. It feels like we're at like a social event for a change, which is amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch it live, which is kind of like gutting after this season, but I'm so excited. I don't know if we want to make like winner picks or something.
Yeah, why not?
You want to do it?
Yeah, let's make winner picks.
Of course.
Okay.
All right.
Well, alphabetical. Austin, you're up.
I'm going to go with my gut. And I think I'm going to go probably the easy choice. I'm going to go Anissa. I think she would be. I mean, I think anyone would be a fantastic runner, like I've said. I just think she's probably got the biggest. She's got the biggest like ceiling. Like she can definitely make it to the end, and I think she'll have the easiest time doing it. But I also think if she makes one big like slip up, she's done. But it's a risk. The whole season is themed around risk. I'm going Anissa.
Very nice. Contrary to my predictions of the cast assessment, seeing the actions that Big H took towards Carly and knowing that he's kind of being fed this information from the people he's talked to before and realizing how much of a threat Anissa is, I'm going to go with Big H. I think that he's going to make that move and cut Anissa, and I think she's going to respect it as a big move. She's going to persuade the jury to be like, hey, we worked super hard together. Similar to what Jacob said in the chat on YouTube too, that Anissa can kind of confirm how much they work together. Because the jury can chat before and kind of compare notes and like back up a contestant. So I think putting her on jury will definitely boost Big H's appeal to who's on jury right now. That's just my thoughts. I know I've been wrong a lot of times in these predictions that Nathan throws at me. So I'm like, oh. So, but that's what I got.
Oh, I'm Kirk. Yeah. So I really think I really want to watch Jackie win because I think that would be I'm so curious to watch Jackie's moves in the next segment, kind of like what Nathan was talking about. But unfortunately, Jackie, you're not going to be my winner pick only because I think it's so hard. And I think Jackie's really good on one-on-one conversations. And I think this is where she just like thrives in the games with these small groups. But I'm afraid that she's not going to be able to pull it out at a final tribal. I'm not sure I've ever seen her with these big groups. So therefore, I'm going with Austin. It's got to be Anissa. She's confident in front of big groups. She's going to be the one that if she gets to the final two, she can argue the case to get the win. And I think she can get there. So Anissa's my pick.
Yeah. Look, I'd rather be right and boring than wrong and interesting. So I'm going to go with Anissa. She has played a boss game. She has played a Sarah Lucina level game. It is so impressive. It is real Survivor level of impressive. I mean, really, she has taken this by the horns. She has dictated this game from beginning until end, or at least up to where we have seen. And I don't see this trajectory changing. She has everything in her to maneuver through these final rounds. And I don't see Big H, her one potential weakness, actually turning against her, which is what it comes down to.
I think really Jackie has a strong potential to be there as well. I think she did a different gameplay than most of these other players at the end too. She can talk about the early stuff and how she was like the swing vote and so on and so forth. And I think she can really like culminate and put that into perspective for the jury to understand and throw out some good points too. I know I'm kind of backtracking on my Big H pick, but I wanted to as well. So
yeah, that's hard, like, because you're going to be dealing with people who haven't seen even. Like, they don't know anything about your pre-merge game, possibly because, you're just not on a tribe with them. You're not constantly strategizing with them like you probably are with your own tribe at that point. So that's like, if you're really going to be selling your pre-merge game, you got to be on it. And I would love to see Jackie get the chance to do that.
And for our viewers at home, they're tuning in for a Big H win as well. So there's that. And I'm super excited to see the episode air on Thursday. Before we do go, we have a special slide here, and I just want to take a moment and thank all the special guests that Charlie and Jacob have lined up to be with us on these. Everyone on this, thank you very much. And thanks for Jacob and Charlie to reach out to you folks and to be on to share your thoughts on the episodes as well. So, Jacob, Charlie, everybody, it's been fantastic tonight. Look next to me because I'm like, oh, Kirk. I was about to be like, oh, you're on. We're screen, but together. We are. Yes. Nathan, Austin, as always, thanks for coming out and hanging out with us. Nathan, great game. Austin, great feedback as well. And everyone, that's all thank you for an amazing season. Like, Survivor Boston is going in the record books as one of the best like live reality games for sure. So
easily my favorite of all time. I don't know if anything's going to come close, to be honest with y'all. It's just been phenomenal. It's been such a treat, right? Like exactly what we needed with this long ass off season. So real Survivor. So thank you to the cast, the crew. Y'all put in so much work, and your passion is not without its reward. So very grateful.
Well, and thank you guys for putting this on because we love hearing you guys talk about it. Like Jacob said at the beginning, like we never really hear people talk about it outside of the Survivor Boston bubble itself. So we've loved releasing this season. And a lot of the love of releasing that season has been because of you guys putting this after show on. So, thanks.
It's been so much fun.
After show, you guys have been so entertaining. It's so articulate. You get down to game theory, and you've made these contestants feel like family. When I watch the episode, I know them so much better because of your conversation. It's been so entertaining to watch. Thanks for having me on, Dustyn, and everybody. I appreciate it.
Glad to have you. Thank you all. Like I can't say it better than how Charlie just said it, so I'm not going to add anything. He said it perfectly. Retweet.
All right. I guess we'll leave you on this prediction from the audience here. Who's going to win? Anissa says Nathan wins.
Yeah, why not? I've never played a live Survivor game, but why not?
All right. Until next time, everyone. Next Tuesday at 9:30, we'll have the winner. So.